Hey, good Wednesday afternoon, everybody. I'm KHOU 11 meteorologist Tim Pandajis here with your tropical update. We're talking about the Eastern Pacific brand new name storm, Tropical Storm Hillary. And in the Atlantic, after a slumber for the last several weeks, we're tracking three separate tropical waves, two of which have moderate chances of developing. Today is August the 16th. 2023. Let's start off in the Gulf of Mexico. Overall, the Gulf, the sea surface temperatures are well above normal. Plenty of fuel for a system to get going if, in fact, it does develop. Right now, we're watching the western Gulf of Mexico as we head out to about 5 days from now for a 20% chance of tropical genesis here. There's going to be a tropical wave developing over the Bahamas and building westwards. As it does so, conditions may be marginally conducive for it to get its act together and get a name. Again, chances, though, only at 20%. Elsewhere in the Atlantic, two other waves, way out in the eastern Atlantic, both which have moderate chances of developing, one at 50% within the next 7 days, one at 40% in the next 7 days. If you're wondering what the next name on our list is, it is Emily. We'll see which develops first. Let's talk about that wave heading into the Gulf of Mexico. Here's that plume of tropical moisture by early next week moving into the eastern Gulf of Mexico. Overall, it's going to be very broad and disheveled in nature, but there is a window of time as it heads into the western Gulf that conditions may set up for it to get a closed center of circulation and develop a closed low. We'll have to watch that carefully, but regardless, it'll likely throw some moisture up and over southeast Texas, which is very much needed with the ongoing and building drought situation there. So this delivers a pretty good substantial threat of some rain, the most substantial threat that we've seen in months across the area. Let's talk about the sea surface temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico and overall the Atlantic basin that's still above average. So we're looking at anomalies here, the amount above average in terms of temperature that it should be this time of the year. The Gulf is over 2.5 degrees above normal. The average temperature currently in the Gulf is 88 degrees. You need 80-degree waters or warmer to sustain tropical development and growth. We certainly have that over the Caribbean and the tropical Atlantic, both of which running a degree above normal for this time of the year. Doesn't seem like much, but it's enough to really just push it over the edge for tropical energy available for these systems to use. Now I want to jump over to the Eastern Pacific. It's been very, very active out there so far this season, and here's another example of that. Tropical Storm Hillary just formed earlier today, 40-mile-per-hour winds. This will likely rapidly intensify over the next 24 hours to become a major hurricane as it heads north towards Baja California and eventually Southern California. Yes, you heard me right. Southern California may be impacted by what's left of Hillary as it builds north. What I'm saying what's left because I'm going to show you in a second it's going to be moving into much colder waters and rapidly deteriorating, but there'll still be enough of its shell left that will still get some impacts in Southern California. Here's visible satellite imagery right now. You can see it's already got that look. It's getting itself together and will rapidly intensify here, building stronger winds and a lower central pressure. Here's a look at the National Hurricane Center's track on this. Notice it becomes a major hurricane up to a Category 3, maybe Category 4, builds north along Baja California, the west coast there, but notice as it gains latitude, it loses strength. Winds go down to 90 miles per hour by Sunday at 7 a.m. 24 hours later, it's 60 miles per hour. Still technically tropical storm force winds, but becoming a remnant low as the convection really collapses over cooler sea surface temperatures. It's been very active, as I said, in the Eastern Pacific. We've already run through a third of the names. Hillary out there now is a tropical storm. We've had major hurricanes out there already as well. Here's a look at the sea surface temperatures overlaid with the storm track. So right now we've got absolutely warm waters, enough to sustain tropical development, which is why it's expected to rapidly intensify up to a Category 3 hurricane, maybe a little bit stronger than that. Sea surface temperatures well north of 80 degrees Fahrenheit. But notice you gain latitude and you start to get much cooler waters quickly. 60s are the water temperatures off the coast of Southern California, which is why this really falls apart as it gains latitude and heads to the north. Here's how the different models see things. We'll start off with the European model. It gains strength, builds north, and stays just offshore, but throws plenty of moisture up and over Southern California and southern Arizona. Look at some of these rainfall totals, up to 2 to 4 inches potentially, just off to the west-northwest of Los Angeles, and San Diego getting up to a ½ an inch. That doesn't seem like a ton. Look what the GFS model does, though. Keeps it a little bit stronger, builds it right along the immediate coast of Baja, even builds it inland over San Diego before it rapidly falls apart, but brings a lot more moisture. Look at these rainfall totals as we go out into early next week. Could see several inches in San Diego, Archer 2 to 4 inches, Victorville 2 to 4 inches, and maybe even some locally higher amounts than that in Southern California due to this system coming on through there. That's the latest out there in the Atlantic Basin and the Eastern Pacific. We'll watch Hillary and for its impacts in terms of wind and substantial amounts of rain in early next week in Southern California.